It's difficult to do the right thing with no prize in return. In fact, doing good without instant reward is probably one of the hardest parts of following Jesus. And that's why the Bible reminds us over and over again that humility will have its reward and that God will lift you up, His child, in due time. In this video, I want to take a few minutes to look at 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 6 that talks about this truth and how it's helped me stay patient and to focus on doing good even if no one seems to care. And don't get me wrong, few things are more discouraging and frustrating than being overlooked, than being underappreciated, than having your kindness or your efforts taken for granted. It's like the wife who does all the cooking in the marriage and family, and yet her husband and children never say thank you, and they never compliment the meal. Or the husband who works night and day to provide for the family, while the wife only racks up debt and complains about how little they have. Stepping into that kind of emotional space helps us understand the tension we have in the Christian life. It's tough, but Jesus calls us to persevere in following Him, to persevere in doing good, to endure in our humility, even if people hate us for being a Christian or take advantage of our character. That was actually the grueling situation Peter's friends had when he wrote to them in 1 Peter. In 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 5 and 6, he told them, "All of you, clothe yourselves with humility toward one another, because God opposes the proud, but shows favor to the humble. Humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that He might lift you up in due time." The main point I want to draw from these verses is that our due time is ultimately not until after we die. If you follow Jesus, you must remember that fact, that God will lift you up, and that is the most certain thing that you can count on. And humbling yourself under His mighty hand is worth all your effort. But that exaltation that you can expect almost certainly and ultimately will not come until after death. And we wouldn't want right now to be our crown. Would you like to give 30 years of your life to be rich and famous and powerful and successful for the following 30 years? Or would you prefer to give 60 years of your life to God in the shadows and then be exalted and rich and immortal for eternity with God among His family on a perfect earth? It's a no-brainer. But that's the message of the New Testament, and that's the typical outcome of following Jesus and His ways. Humility often has very little recognition or reward or applause or payback in this life, except a nearness to God, which is more than enough for now. But the ultimate reward comes later. So here are a few takeaways I have from this passage. First of all, I have to remind myself that God sees me. God sees me. God sees you. God sees. He's not aloof or apathetic to your good work, to your humble service. God sees you, and that's enough. I have to remind myself that He is the one that I serve, and then that's all I need to know. I have to tell myself that, especially when gloomy days come and I feel like no one appreciates me. Of course, that's not actually true, but even if it were true, even if no one appreciated you, knowing that God sees you and your labor for Him is enough. And second, I have to remind myself that my best days are not right now and that I'm enduring for something better. That life cannot be compared to eternity. Now is the hard time. Now is the tough time. Now is the difficult journey before the rest and reward at the end. And third, I have to watch it that I don't do my work in order to be seen. That I don't put on a show of humility. That I don't do good in order to be seen as a do-gooder, in order to scratch that itch of being appreciated and seen right now, rather than leaning on the fact that God sees me. All of that, if I do my work in order to be seen, all of that will throw me off, making me do the right things for the wrong reasons, and then eventually leading me to start doing the wrong things because I'm chasing after the wrong goals. God's reward is way better than any other reward we can get. And don't forget, when the endurance is tough and you start getting anxious in the midst of it, Peter tells us immediately afterward, chapter 5, verse 7, he says to cast all your anxiety upon God because He cares for you. Well, I hope this biblical truth encourages you like it encourages me. If you don't know, my name is Aaron Massey, and I've been following Jesus and preaching His Word for about 15 years. If you did find this to be useful, please take a moment to like and subscribe so that others can find biblical teaching like this. And if someone came to mind that you thought would be helped by this, please go ahead and send it to them. Thank you for listening. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.